When you can't hold on to yourself, the greater likelihood it is that you'll conform to anything, even if that's painful, emotionally, spiritually, socially, and even sometimes physically. We stay in relationships that we know are bad for us. We stay in marriages that should have ended long ago. We let our kids run all over us. We let the boss treat us badly, because it's much safer to just allow those things to happen than to stand up for ourselves and demand what we want from our lives. It's much safer to just conform, because conforming is all we've ever really known. Much of the circumstances of our lives are thrust upon us. We didn't choose our name. We didn't choose where we were born. We didn't choose our parents. We didn't choose our skin color, our socioeconomic status. We didn't choose our sexual orientation, and yet we were born into this life that we inherited. The German philosopher Martin Heidegger called this thrownness, and it's an idea that you're going to hear me talk about in a lot of my work. We didn't choose this life. We were thrown into it. We make sense of the rest of our lives based on the lens we were born into. And if we allow our lives to go unchecked, unexamined, then we'll just go through life creating a life of default, where the next action is simply the result of the last domino that has fallen. And just like dominoes, one after another, life seems to stack up and go a particular prescribed way. But it doesn't have to be that way. Often the sense of not feeling purpose in our life is the result of living this continual cycle that we were born into. We never stop to bring awareness or attention to what is it that we were born into, that we're carrying with us, and what is really us, what is worthy of us. It's a life where we allow the next domino to fall without intention or purpose or an idea of where we want to go. We're just allowing the cycle to continue. For example, how did you get your job? Did you seek out what would really fulfill your purpose and meaning, or was it the result of convenience or circumstance? What about your partner? How did you choose your partner? Was it convenience and circumstance, or were you intentional about what you want in a life partner and intentionally sought out the kind of person that would help you become the best version of who you are? What about where you live, your social circle, how you parent, your religious beliefs, or your political views? Are these ideas that you've brought intention and awareness to, or are you just doing what's always been done? Are you continuing a cycle of, well, that's the way it's always been done, so that's how I'll continue to do it? It's a good question and a worthy question that all of us have to stop and ask if we really want to live a life that is truly ours. Bringing an awareness to this continuation of this cycle is a process that I call breaking the cycle. It's a really important idea for me because it is how we stop living a life of default and start creating our own life. And in the process of breaking and untangling, what's most exciting is you're going to discover something truly remarkable in the process. You're going to discover yourself. To find purpose, clarity, and meaning, you have to awaken to the fact that so much of who you are is a result of the circumstances you were thrown into. You have to become clear that much of your life is the result of allowing the next domino to fall. To really get to a place where you're living a life full of meaning and purpose, you have to become clear on the impact of your own thrownness and acknowledge that most of your life is the result of circumstance and convenience. The first step in breaking the cycle is to stop in recognizing that the cycle even exists, and then accepting the responsibility for allowing that cycle to stop with you. As kids, our power to make decisions for our life was heavily influenced by outside circumstances or our thrownness and other people's expectations of us. And for far too many of us, we were born into circumstances that were brewed in jealousy and hate and ignorance, and all of those things were mixed in with our own youthful naivete. We were caught in circumstances that didn't align with who we really are or discovered ourselves to be. And this misalignment between what we were born into and who we were discovering ourselves to be created the sense of otherness within us. All of a sudden, we become other because we feel different than our environment. And for too many of us, in order to survive, we simply conform. And in that process of conforming, we lose ourselves. We get lost. And this whole idea of finding meaning and purpose in our lives becomes secondary to survival. And the resulting consequence is a life that feels devoid of any real meaning. When you're trying to please other people, it's hard to get clarity around who you are and what you want for yourself and for your own life. You've got too many voices swirling around in your head, influencing you and ultimately begging for your submission to conform. And as human beings, we sabotage our opportunity for joy by becoming a chameleon and just blending in with the environment and doing whatever is expected of us to fit in, to be normal. But there's no peace in being a people pleaser. In fact, it's exhausting. All of your actions are designed to get the approval and love of other people at the expense of loving yourself. Now, this isn't a recipe for finding purpose and meaning in your life. In fact, it's quite the opposite. And in this process, we get lost. When you can't hold on to yourself, it's much more likely that you'll give up whatever freedom you have to somebody else's purpose, to somebody else's idea of what's good for you. When you can't hold on to yourself, the greater likelihood it is that you'll conform to anything, even if that's painful, emotionally, spiritually, socially, and even sometimes physically. We stay in relationships that we know are bad for us. We stay in marriages that should have ended long ago. We let our kids run all over us. We let the boss treat us badly because it's much safer to just allow those things to happen than to stand up for ourselves and demand what we want from our lives. It's much safer to just conform because conforming is all we've ever really known. But this is just a continuation of our own thrownness, allowing ourselves to be thrown into a situation and perpetuate that situation, rather than standing up for what we really want for ourselves and for our lives. And if you want a life full of meaning and purpose, it's up to you now to throw yourself into the life that you want and throw yourself out of the life that you have rejected and do not want. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it's terrifying. Yes, people are going to look at you and be like, who is this person? But this is your life. One chance, the one life that you get. We numb our lives with rotten movies and cable news. Why? Because it's easier to just go with the flow and not disrupt anything than it is to stand up and ask for, to demand the life that you want for yourself. It's easier to just go with the flow. But a life full of meaning and purpose means that you have to throw yourself into that life and throw yourself out of the life that is just the result of the next domino that conveniently fell. You've got to take responsibility for where your life is now and throw yourself into the life you want to create. And yes, this is a scary proposition to start demanding what you want. You may even have to create a little conflict. You may have to make yourself uncomfortable. You may have to make other people uncomfortable. But there's never been a better day than today to start living the life that you want to live. This is your one life, your one shot. So today is a great day to make the decision to create the one that you want. The moment we can awaken to our own thrownness and bring awareness of the fact that we were thrown into this life, and we may have, up until this point, perpetuated that life, and bring awareness of the fact that that is the way it has been, but it does not always have to be that way. Then we start creating the opportunity for us to start feeling more of our own humanity, feeling more alive by creating the life that we really want. I hope you'll make that decision soon. In fact, I hope you'll make it today.